All right, guys, welcome back. Let's talk about the third section today, which is marking inside. That means before you taking the straight professional level paper such as SBL, you have to know how your answers be worded by your examiners. We need to know the reasons that they mark your paper. All right, so marking inside has one question called MachineShop. Let's read these questions now. Guys, this question was released during the year of late 2018. The purpose for this paper to be released is for students to understand how your answers be marked, which is very important paper. Let's talk now. Let's check the first page, ladies and gentlemen, the brief introduction of your company, MachineShop. Are you ready? Here we go. MachineShop sells small electronical machines and tools, small electronical machine and tools to both trade customers and retail customers. Trade customers is the B2B business, and the retail customers are B2C business, right? The market segmentations are very different. The distribution channels are totally different, and the marketing campaigns are also different. Accordingly, different customer needs have different product rationalities or the product portfolios. Do you agree? So the first sentence tells us that we have two market segmentations to be tackled with. Reading one more time. To both trade customers who use the machine or tools in their work, and the retail customers who use the machine or tools at home. The company is based entirely. That means no segmentations, no divisions or subdivisions in other countries. The company entirely based in Aboria, which is the name of the country, a prosperous industrial countries. Industrial country represents what? Industrial country means mature. That means your distribution network systems are mature, your logistics systems are mature, your basic infrastructure systems such as the road or the highway are very mature enough. In simple English, you don't have to worry so much about the related and supporting industry in your company. All right, guys, let's carry on. So a prosperous industry comes with an established consumer culture. That means the consumers would like to spend the monies for value. And second paragraph, the company has experienced rapid growth. That means what? That means your business model is good. In simple English, rapid growth means your business model is very good, recognized by the local citizens. And the directors now wish to expand into other countries. What are those other countries? Will you expand your business to your neighbor country, or will you expand your business models into some other countries with more mature systems, or even the developing countries? This is the prospective developed country, but would you like to move your business model into the developing countries? So you need to understand the questions asking you to think thoroughly. Perhaps the Porter's diamond is a good model to be thought about it, right? And other countries neither by acquisition or organic growth. What does it mean? That means if you want to go to another country, two ways. First, you set up your own companies, or maybe in terms of the division or strategic business unit in that country, and to become a multinational corporations now. This is the first way. And the second way is to acquire the local similar companies, since they have a mature customer base, since they have a mature service systems or the service networkings. These are something that we can benefit from if you acquire a local companies like us, right? So there are two basic ways for us to expand our current business models into other countries. Carry on as the company has grown. The need to establish formal internal control procedures is also an issue. Why is that? In simple English, this sentence means the company is rather small at this moment, but when you grow up, when you become bigger, your internal control is difficult to be handled by the current board of directors, or do we have any subcommittees such as the risk committees or audit committees, or even some internal control department to help us to handle the company's expansion. When you expand your business, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, that means your internal control must be controlled even tightly. One person, one department sometimes is not enough. So you need to consider whether we need to establish the internal control functions, or we need to set up a separate internal control divisions or internal control facilities in this company in terms of a subcommittee such as the risk committee or the whatever committees we have. All right, guys. So this is the issue for the company. In simple English, you will become bigger. Internal control is an issue. And carry on. The following exhibits 1 to 6 provide information relevant to MachineShop. Don't forget, in our exam we have 6 exhibits to read. So each one of them represents different informations. You need to finish them within 40 or 45 minutes. Don't forget, that's a basic fundamental levels to be measured with. If you say, I can finish them within 20 minutes, is that all right? Yes, of course, but I strongly recommend you to read slowly and read comprehensively. So guys, carry on. First exhibit is about the homepage from MachineShop's website. So what we need to think right here is about whether the current website is a push model or a pull model. What's the difference between the two? Push model means advertise directly. Normally, we don't want to use the push model these days because nobody wants to see those advertisements directly today. And the best way to construct your website is by a pull model. That means interest your customers and interest them to click in, right? So that's different two configurations of your website to be constructed with. And this is something I'd like to put it on here. I just want you to consider of it. And exhibit number 2 is financial information about MachineShop. Financial information about the MachineShop. What do we want to know from here? Perhaps some ratios analysis, horizontally and vertically compare with yourself and your competitors, if there is any. So don't forget to calculate the financial ratios by using the financial informations of every different questions. Ladies and gentlemen, exhibit number 3 is business newspaper article about the 50th store opening, 50 stores. Remember I told you that when you become bigger, ladies and gentlemen, maybe one person or a group of persons who is currently taking good care of the internal control are definitely not enough. When you open the 50th stores, a new store is coming, you definitely lack of people to manage them, right? We need to set a separate department for it, or maybe we have to acquire and recruit more people like that. So that's exhibit number 3. And number 4, minute. Minute is not minute, it's French. Minute of a meeting of the board of the MachineShop, and we don't know what's the purpose of their meeting, and we'd like to find out more about that. Exhibit number 5. Documentation of inventory control. Inventory control and the procurement system at MachineShop. We have a documentation to explain the details of these two systems. And we have to read it later. Exhibit number 6 is information about fabric regulator. What is that, ladies and gentlemen? This is definitely an aiding company. FRG is not English. This is perhaps Spanish, maybe a company from Puerto Rico or the previous colonial cities by Spain. So, ladies and gentlemen, the information about this company shows us that your expansion overseas is by acquiring the local companies such as this FRG. So FRG is the local company in another country. What's the difficulties for us to do the acquisition? First, culture shock. Second, language differences. Third one, the way the company is doing the business, because their values are different, as we have talked about previously, right? Just a name tells us a lot of different things. For example, like maybe you need to check about their value, you need to check about their language. How about the language barrier? They don't speak English, they speak Spanish, they speak French, they speak Italian. You don't do that, and you have the culture shock because sometimes they don't work. Diligently. Perhaps you have the X level of stuff rather than the Y. So just this kind of a basic information, you need to apply the information into your cases. Think deeply. Think twice before you make your conclusion and your recommendations. Okay, this is only the brief introduction of the case, and carry on. Let's check the questions. It is March 2018. March 2018. You are Aspen Spencer. Who is that? A business analyst in the consultancy division. Of Morin and Chateau. Morin and Chateau has many divisions. Consultancy is one. The other one perhaps could be auditing, or maybe some other like risk advisory, right? So consultancy division is one division in Morin and Chateau, and you work for the consultancy division as a business analyst. The auditor of MachineShop. That means in simple English, MachineShop has the auditor. The auditor is from Morin and Chateau, and at the same time, Morin and Chateau is providing the consultancy advisory or consulting services to the company called MachineShop. So the first thing come up into my mind is the independence. You need to check whether their independence is an issue. And after that, the board of MachineShop is considering the acquisition of FRG. That means our client, they want to acquire FRG. The company is not based in your Aboria. Remember the previous page? We are in Aboria. That's the country's name. And now the new company called FRG is based in Sealand. Totally two different countries. As agreed by the recent board meeting, CXP number 4, Violet Wong, the Chief Financial Officer, our CFO, our client's CFO, has requested advice from you, Morin and Chateau, about the acquisition. So in simple English, this is the M&A services. Merge and acquisition services, real life. We need to help the company do some commercial due diligence. We need to help the company to understand the basic risk environment. And after that, we help the company to do the post-merge integrations. And these are the services that as Morin and Chateau providing to the companies, right? According to your previous experiences, we can simply know that. And you have been forwarded an email sent to Dave Dame, whatever, the chairman and CEO. Chairman and CEO. We've talked about that before. Can the company have chairman and CEO in one person? Is it okay? Yes, it's okay in insider systems or even the Northern Europe companies. It's just very, very normal. All right, guys, so that's not an issue. Chairman and the CEO are one person, but however, there are disadvantages about that. I've told you that because maybe the severely restricted expansion capability of the company, something like that. But a firm of chartered accountant in Sealand, which provides some background information about FRG CXP number 6. So what is the first question? The first question wants you to write a report. So what's the format of the report? We do not have enough time to study the format of the report in your short session, but I think you should know that. Let's briefly talk about it. We write a report. You write down the report, the name. All right, this is a report. And don't forget to write down to and from and the subject. Right? The subject. To, from, subject. So how to write down the subject? The subject is written down according to the requirement. Let's check. Write down a report to the board of MachineShop which evaluate the potential acquisition of FRG and recommend whether the MachineShop should acquire them. So just in simple English, put this verb into a noun. That's enough. Evaluation. Okay, so the subject of your report could be evaluation of the potential acquisition target called FRG, together with my recommendations on whether or not the acquisition of FRG is foreseeable. That's it. Yeah, of course, you can use some simple English to shrink it into a simple way, but the fundamental knowledge behind writing down the subject is to transform the verb into a noun. Can you follow me, guys? Easy. And after that, professional marks will be given on your demonstrating skepticism skill. That means you need to challenge, you need to prove whether the acquisition of the potential acquisition target called FRG is appropriate. Why? Because the company is in another country. Perhaps we could have some culture shock, employee diversity, something like your homogeneous way may not be acceptable by the hetero way. So, you know, so what I'm trying to say that the way that your company is doing may not be acceptable in that company, and similarly, the way that they manage the company may not be viewed as a good way in your company. So, when you acquire a company from another country, how many of them? How many elements of them are you gonna retain, maintain, or preserve? Are you gonna fire all the management? Are you gonna still use their existing distribution channel? Are you gonna use their ISIT systems? Are you gonna ruin everything and everything is from your company? You only keep the customers. What are you gonna do? Right, guys? So the acquisition of the company in another country need to think twice. This is a big question. But the fundamental logic behind this question is to ask you to write down and report. So to from subject, after that, there will be the main body of your report. How are we going to write down the main body? I recommend you to use my way. I call them a fast model. Since this is a short session of SBL, I do not have enough time to teach you how to construct a fast model, but in simple English, I'd like to show you how it constructed. We call them a fast. Fast is feasibility, acceptability, and suitability, together with the total conclusion. So each one of them will give you 2 or 3 different paragraphs to be consistent into your report. And to make your report more professional, don't forget to give them a heading like feasibility study, like acceptability evaluation, a suitability evaluation, suitability assessment, something like that. And finally, write down the total conclusion. All right, so just for example, we write down 5 to 6 paragraphs as your main body. After that, don't forget to write down yours sincerely or yours faithfully, and then write down your name. Right? What's your name? Aspen Spencer. Aspen Spencer. That's your name. Best regards. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the professional way to write down the report. And if you construct the answers into the report, you basically finish the requirement according to these questions. And don't forget always to challenge their decisions, because the professional marks is given for your skepticism. Challenge the way, prove their way. Okay, can you follow me? Easy? Yes. This is question number 1. Very excited? Yes, of course. SBL is not difficult if you study it in a comprehensive way, or I mean the comprehensive in terms of the structure of the exam and the technical and professional modules of the exam. All right, guys, carry on. Next question. After 1 month is April 2018. You are an audit manager at MachineShop. Now your role has changed. You used to be the audit partner. Sorry, you used to be the consultancy, right? A business analyst. Now you move on to become an audit manager in another division, responsible for audit of MachineShop. MachineShop have been asked by Violet Wong. Who is that? the MachineShop's CFO. So in simple English, the CFO of our client asks you something. You are the audit manager. On what? On advice on whether it would be appropriate for an internal audit function to be set up. So this is an easy question. They'll ask you the reasons to set up internal audit functions. We have already finished analyzing the reasons for that, remember, during our previous session right here. And we need to have the internal audit functions, of course, but you need to tell them the reasons. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. So that reason could be from the basic study of the internal audit functions advantages. So in your previous study, you should focus on the internal audit functions advantage and disadvantages. Of course, the greatest advantage is to help your organizations to study something on your risk and your operation. You can delegate the operation and the risk management to your internal audit functions as well. And the biggest disadvantage is the cost, because this function requires somebody who have the experiences, and normally they have a higher salaries to be recruited. All right, guys, prepare a briefing notes. Here is the question requirement. They want you to write down a briefing notes to the finance director. One more time, I told you there's one article from accglobal.com called Effective Communication. In that article, examiners tell you the structures of those report, briefing notes, memo, slides, and even the press release and the risk register. There are so many different formats you need to be familiar with, and today we're gonna not talk about that again. So just remember the article. Prepare a briefing notes to finance director of the MachineShop, which makes the case for setting up an internal audit function. Case 4, that means the advantages of setting up an internal audit functions. So the basic study is very important. Memorize at least there are 5 to 8, at least you write down 6 different advantages of setting up the internal audit functions separately. We'll be getting the enough answers of 12, right? As I told you, 2 marks will be granted for 1 point, 1 valid point. So at least you write down 6 reasons. All right, guys, commercial outcome is the professional marks. That means your answer has to be linked up with the commercial eye, whether the internal audit function could help the company to restock more business, restock the profit, at the same time help them to reduce the unnecessary cost. So this is the question number 2. Easy? Yep. And well, of course, you have to study the basic knowledges before you attempt these questions, which is very easy. Question number 3, guys. It is April, still the same month, 2018. You are an IT consultant. Now your role has changed from the IT consultant at Moran Chateau. Your firm is very diversified. Following the board meeting at which Mr. Butcher, the director of the operation, first mentioned the greater use of IT. Is that similar? Yes. This question, we have already talked about it in the earlier time. And let's read it one more time. This is something about big data. First mentioned the great use of IT, and your firm has been asked by the board of MachineShop to advise on the use of big data and the use of IT in procurement processes. Requirement A, prepare 2 presentation slides with accompanying notes which explain the meaning of big data and how it could be adopted at MachineShop. So what is the answer structure for that? Easy. They want you to write down 2 presentation slides, and here are the 2 slides. Okay, so the first slides you need to explain the big data, and the second slides you need to tell them the implications. So just for example, the first slide is big data at first, write down after that, give them the definition of big data, give them the advantages and the disadvantages of adopting the big data analytical skills. And the third one, there will be the features of big data, such as 4 V's of big data: velocity, variety, volume, and something like that, right? So we have 4 V's of feature of big data. And the second slides, we are going to focus on the implementation of big data in our company. Okay, so 2 presentation slides with a company notes. You need to write down the notes right here. How many notes do we need to write? According to how many points you have been listed. In the first slides, we've listed 3 different points. So at least you need to write down 3 notes to explain the point in detail. Can you follow me, guys? Is that clear? Yes, very good. That's interesting. Question number A. Second question, B, write a briefing paper, another briefing paper requirement to the board of MachineShop, which evaluates the potential application of e-procurement at MachineShop. That means the machine-to-machine procurement. We don't have the human being to make that decisions. The machine make decisions. Machine know when to buy. Machine know what quantity to order according to the e-procurement processes at MachineShop. In simple English, we need to talk about whether the e-procurement processes or the systems will be needed at this moment at MachineShop. Right? Easy questions. Right? Yes. Of course, you need to have some basic knowledge of that. And question number 4. It is now May 2018. That means 1 month later. You are a business analyst at Morel and Chatham. Your will is coming back to the business analysis. Violet Wong has contacted you to thank you for your report. Thank you for your report. Who's that? Violet Wong, the CFO of our client. She contacted you and thank you for your report of previous months, April 18, concerning the acquisition of FRG. That means the FRG was good. The acquisition was successful. Perhaps, in preparation for the next board meeting, where the acquisition will be discussed. Oh, they have not acquired that yet. They only asked you to write down the report to talk about the feasibility of acquisition. She would like your advice on how the acquisition of FRG should be financed. That means in what way we get the money to buy that FRG. Shall we finance internally or shall we borrow some money from the bank, right? So externally in simple English. And Ms. Wong has asked you to assume that a price of 5 million would be paid to acquire FRG, and the MachineShop could issue bond on the debt market of Arboria. It is estimated that the yield required on such bond would be 7%. Alternatively, the company could issue new share capital, which, by the way, the equity finance, to Arboria Capital, a venture capitalist operating in the Arboria, and the 1 million shares will be issued to the venture capitalist at $5 per share. So, basic fundamental knowledge from your F level. I guess this is F5 or maybe F9 paper. I'm not very familiar with the F level papers, but these questions is super easy, ladies and gentlemen. I wish this kind of questions could be appeared in your coming examinations. What you need to do is to focus on the requirement. Write a report to Violet Wong which evaluates whether the acquisition of FRG should be financed by the issue of bond or the issue of shares. So professional marks will be given for the analytical skills. How to analyze? You need to make them into 2 ways. The first is the bond advantage and disadvantage. All right. And the second answer focuses on the shares, advantage of issuing a share, and disadvantage of issuing and share. So this is the answer structure. If you put your answer into this way, you get enough analytical skill marks, 4 marks. And what you need to do is just to fill it up every advantage and disadvantage. I guess this is the very fundamental knowledges from your previous study, right? Just tell me one. What is the advantage of share option? Issuing share. What is the advantage of issuing share? You keep your own control, right? Your control will not be diluted. What is the biggest advantage for issuing a bond? Perhaps we have a better gearing, right, guys? So different ways and different approaches have different advantages accordingly. And you need to determine what are those advantages that need to be taken good consideration under the circumstances of MachineShop. In simple English, you need to check MachineShop's financial statement. Do we have a financial statement later on? Yes, let me show you. It's right here. See, in your exam, they give you very simple financial statement in strategic professional levels. It's not like fundamental levels. The financial statement in our level are rather easy. What they need to test is your fundamental knowledges and the logic behind it. So the numbers and the way they present the answers are rather easy. And then coming back, ladies and gentlemen, the final questions, let's read together. It is now June 2018. You are an audit partner, ladies and gentlemen. You have upgraded into the audit partner now. This is the boss level, right? Boss to boss. You are the audit partner of Madron and Chateau, responsible for the audit of MachineShop, and you have developed a good working relationship with Dave Dane. Dave has just told you in confidence that he would like to spend less time. Is that familiar? Yes, it's familiar. We've seen these questions previously, just a couple of hours ago. Right? Last time managing the day-to-day operations to pursue other interests. He is thinking of appointing new CEO from outside MachineShop to take over his operational responsibilities, and would like your opinion on whether it would be the good idea for him to stay on as chairman. He would also like your views on the desirable qualities of the new CEO. So this question wants you to write a letter to explain the following two requirements. The first requirement discusses the advantages and disadvantages of Dave Dane, the old CEO, and at the same time the old chairman, staying on as the chairman after the new CEO has been appointed from outside MachineShop. So you need to tell me the advantages, and just tell me one, please. We've already talked about it. The biggest advantage for him to stay in as a chairman is the familiarity of the business. He is very familiar with the business. He can assist you, help you to ease in, right? Yes. What is the biggest disadvantages? It's because the resistance by the existing employees if the new CEO wish to make some big differences, make some progressions of himself, or in simple English, would like to do some change management or new strategy being made. When he wants to implement that changes, the existing employees will start being resistant on it. Why? Because they still miss the old way of diving. So that's the biggest disadvantages of that. So they want you to write down 4 of each and consider simultaneously there will be 8 marks. And B, explain the qualities which a new CEO at MachineShop should possess. 10 marks. Don't forget, 5 qualities will be enough. And I've told you at least 8. Among these 8, pick up the 5 favorites one according to MachineShop and write down the answers. You get enough marks and go.